Hackers and mixed packers. I'm sure that many of you guys click on my video because by now you've seen both Nick's and Turkish Delight's video about the infamous hacking canny mixed packers. And if you guys haven't seen it, I highly recommend to check it out. But surprise surprise, I've seen it myself as well. Matter of fact, I ran into them few days ago on my live stream. I actually already briefly talked about the increasing hacker issues on stream ages ago, but nobody was taking me seriously back then. So I thought it was just me, that I was the only unfortunate soul running into the once in a moon time hackers so often. But after seeing those videos and the reactions from you community, I realized that I wasn't the only one. So I decided to make this video in order to share some of my stories while covering the whole issue with the hackers, explaining the current situation and the real effect this is causing to players, and detailed information about the hacks and answering the question of what are the developers actually doing about it. So many of us are already in the horde test, and I'm sure that a ton of you have experienced this as well. But if you haven't, consider yourself extremely lucky, because the current state of the horde test and my experience at the moment is the worst that I have ever encountered. To be honest, I don't even know where to begin, but essentially these are a group of individuals that hack together in the same server in order to do one simple thing: ruin as many players' experience as possible, going around the map causing as much damage as they can to people around them because they simply enjoy it. But before I start talking about these players, let me start by addressing the biggest issue in my opinion: the increasing number of hackers. Right now, there are so many hackers in the horde test. Matter of fact, I don't even remember when I haven't ran into one. But most importantly, the hackers are getting more and more obvious, not even hiding the fact that they're hacking at this point. And the hacks themselves are even becoming more and more advanced. And there is a very good reason for it. Because nobody is doing anything. Or that's what many people think. I am certain that many of you guys have already noticed the new report button, and I don't know if it really works. But what I know for certain is when I used it once, it crashed my game, giving me the time to go outside and touch some grass, because the queues take ages. Additionally, I was told by my friend who has some access to the information that the report button was disabled till now, meaning that all the reports you guys were sending weren't even working. But apparently they're working right now. And as mentioned in both Nick's and Turkish D video, including my own experience, we all keep running into the same group of canny mixed packing hackers, both in NA and EU servers. In my personal experience, running into them in both EU 1, 2, 3 and 4 servers over and over, meaning that they're still out there very likely unpunished. This making us feel like the developers are not doing anything, as we keep seeing them over and over and getting killed by the hackers all the time. And before someone says hackers are in every game, that is true. But you also have to understand that other games at least have ways to counter it, a proper ways. And players actually get compensated when they happen to run into one. In the Isles case, we don't get either. Meaning that even if you get killed by a hacker, and even if you have a proof, majority of the time they don't do anything. At least from my experience, that is, as the hackers do not get punished in the moderate time or at all. Not to mention that you don't even get your dinosaur back, leaving you with hours of wasted time so you can go through the same problem again, eventually burning you out, or in the worst case, pushing you to hack as well. Now, before I start digging into the real issue, I want to make sure that I'm no way encouraging people to hack. I am seriously against mixed packing, hacking, or any form of cheating. But this is a serious issue that people need to take into consideration, because that is the reality. And here are the real things that are happening right now. Hacker clans. As mentioned, the group of canny Rexes hacking and mixed packing isn't a coincidence. They're actually a group of disgusting players who target others and do this intentionally on a regular basis. Here are some of the members. I personally won't be revealing their IDs as I'm strictly against any kind of harassment. Because in the end of the day, this is just a video game and I don't believe it's worth the trouble. But as you guys can see, they're clearly using hacks, sharing them and targeting players with the most disgusting intentions. This is straight up evil. The fact that they're finding fun in ruining other players' invested time and enjoyment is disgusting, as this is like straight up bullying. I was able to obtain some of the players' IDs and I personally banned them already in my Discord server. And again, as I said, I won't be sharing them here, but if you're a server owner, feel free to reach out and I'll send you the IDs so you can ban them in your own server, as I refuse to share them here to public. But as you guys can see, there are over 10 players that are involved. That might not sound like a big deal, but that's almost 10% of the total population. Not to mention that there are actually more of them, meaning you can run into a group of 10 hackers running you down at the same time with all of them cheating. And before someone says, well, that's very unlikely, well, surprise, it happened to me and more than once. White knight hacking, or so-called counter-hacking. This is something I saw coming miles away. It was just inevitable. As the name suggests, people started to hack to beat hackers, with some people straight up deciding to also hack just to ruin other players' fun because they lost their dino to a hacker. We personally ran into a lot of players who admitted they were hacking in order to beat them, saying that they used the hacks only when encountering another hackers and never against anyone who isn't. And guess what? They actually didn't, surprisingly, from the short time we spent together, that is. But in my opinion, this is still wrong. Before some of you try to defend this, I'm genuinely interested to hear what's your guys' opinion. But I'll also save some of your guys' time and let you know that you will never convince me that hacking in any form is a good thing, even if it's for a good intention, as it simply goes directly against my personal philosophy. But this doesn't mean that I don't understand your guys' perspective, but here is my reason why. Simply because that's not how humans are designed. For a very long time, we humans have been taught to seek the most effective and convenient path, asking ourselves, how can we make it easier? And that is the fundamental issue for me. As mentioned, some people decide to straight up cheat after dying to a cheater, as they see that the hackers are not being punished. And as I said, I'm not even surprised. ESP cheating is one of the most common ones, to the point that some people are even openly showing it that they are cheating on the official Isles Discord server for everyone to see. And after talking to a few of them, they all fundamentally said the same thing, because it makes things easier. With some saying that they use it to avoid hackers, others using it so they don't have to starve on their wrecks, and with some just using it so they can have fun fighting without wandering around or running into a large pack that they cannot beat. And this is exactly why I'm against white knight cheating. Even if there are people swearing that they only hack when encountering hacker, how are we certain that that is true? As there is no guarantee they won't just turn on their hacks when they start suddenly losing or end up in trouble. Because we certainly haven't seen that before, right? Where you're about to beat them and they get so frustrated and turn on their hacks to ease their ego or save the hours they spend growing. Here are clips of some players that weren't initially cheating, but after we were beating them, they decided to turn on their hacks and come back at us. Even though the majority of the time, they are the ones picking fight with us first. This essentially adding fuel to the already big hacking issue, as I mentioned, where number of players possessing hacks is increasing more and more, potentially turning this entire game into one where hacking becomes the norm, where you cannot go without it, similar to how speed mutations are essential right now, because you cannot survive without one when everyone is using it. And with people nowadays becoming so sensitive and easily influenced by their emotions, I truly do not trust any individual who proudly proclaim themselves that they are hacking in order to beat hackers, because to me, for them to say such thing out loud is already a huge red flag. As in my opinion, there is really nothing to be proud of. But by that, I don't mean I hate these players or anything sort of that, and I don't even blame you guys for doing it, because in my eyes, you guys are simply responding to the issue in a way you believe is right. I just personally don't agree with it, and that doesn't mean I am automatically against you, and I believe that's completely fine. But I do blame the developers for allowing this issue to reach to the point where players feel like they have to resort to cheating. Because this is a direct result of the current state of the game, as these players are simply responding to the real experiences that they are going through. And as I always say, don't hate the player, hate the game. As if the hacker issues were strongly managed from the beginning, these players wouldn't have the need to rely on hacks in the first place. New advanced hacks. Now this is a big problem. I'm not sure if many of people are aware, but the hacks are becoming more and more creative and absurd. Here are some of the new advanced hacks that have been going around. Spar locking hack. A hack that forcefully enters you into a spar mode so you cannot run or fight back. Teleportation hack. A hack that allows them to instantly teleport away or to you. Rapid damage hack. A hack that makes them attack incredibly fast to the point it kills you in matter of seconds. And lastly, more advanced speed and movement hacks. A hack that allows them to move quickly and in omni direction, but just enough to not be noticed by the current anti-cheat system. There are also a number of other hacks floating around, but I haven't fully confirmed them, and I also don't want to reveal to the hackers watching exactly what I know. But these are some of the ones that have clearly improved over time. This is a real issue, as it not only ruins players' enjoyment, but if these hacks get fully utilized, it's actually impossible for the average players to do anything at all. Because they always know where you are and at what growth you are. They can speed hack so you cannot run away, teleport to you if you're too far away so you cannot avoid them, spar lock you so you cannot fight back, and damage hack so they can one-tap you. While at the same time mix packing in a large group so they have the number advantage, with each of them hacking. So now I'm sure that everyone is thinking the same thing. What the hell are the developers doing? And despite being all for hating on them, they are actually doing something, guys. Just unfortunately not in the capacity we need. Believe it or not, but the current anti-cheat measures are actually working, just not well enough. Here's some proof. Do you guys still remember the infamous server skydiving hack, where hackers could launch everyone into the sky and kill everyone? Or do you guys remember those ridiculously fast moving players that would run around the map and one-shot you? Those hacks are essentially gone right now, and that is thanks to the developers' work. And even despite many of you think that I'm just a hater, I genuinely give them a huge credit and round of applause. But developers, we need more. And before someone says that the one-shot and speed hacks are still here, let me elaborate, while also providing further proof that developers are actually doing something. And that is by simply looking at the hackers' behavior and the hacks themselves. Here I want to give a big thank you to a hacker for providing us with his insight, and I will be directly quoting him here and there, so feel free to check him out as well. Let me start with the first hack of the first clip. This is a new advanced hack, and if you watch the new advanced hack that has been introduced, what do you see? A hacker that locks someone into the spar mode in order to kill him, obviously. That is correct, but now let me ask you a different question. Why would they do it? Why do they need to spar lock him in the first place? Which leads me to my final question. What do you not see? We do not see damage or range hacks. Exactly. The hackers do not seem to have access to the damage and range hacks anymore. Because if they did, why would they rely on such ineffective method when they could just simply one-shot him from the distance, no? And the answer is because those hacks were patched. That's why they are now relying on stun locking you now. And that is not all. The rest of their behaviors, such as grouping in a large pack while having their dinosaurs being fully grown to the prime state, also further indicates another hack that has been patched, which is the immortality hack. Because once again, why would they even bother stun locking you, making you powerless, if they could just simply face tank you? And that is because they simply cannot anymore. This is one of the reasons why they started to group up in a large pack. Because a solo Rex, Stego or Trike can be still killed by a group of other Rexes by pinning them down over and over. Meaning yes, the hackers can be killed if you play it really well. And matter of fact, it's not that even difficult with proper group of players, as these hackers are fundamentally terrible at this game. Additionally, this is really good way of thinking, because their simple behaviors let us know what kind of hacks they possess. Because why would they bother playing something slow and big if they could play something small and fast? Why would they pack in large groups when they could play alone and be less noticeable? Why would they bother trying to outnumber you if they just couldn't die or could beat you alone? And why would they need to run towards you or spar lock you if they could just kill you from the distance? And the answer is very simple, because they simply can't. Now you might be mentioning, Well, there is still the damage hack or speed hack. You just showed it to us. And you guys are kinda right and wrong about this, as those are the advanced hacks, which are at the same time inferior versions of the original hacks. Essentially, the old damage hack allowed player to deal extremely high damage one-tapping you, exceeding the damage cap. But now that is patched, with hackers getting banned if they do that. But in order to bypass it, they came up with a newer one, the rapid attack hack. It essentially does the same thing, but it doesn't get flagged as a damage hack because it's multiple individual attacks going in an incredibly rapid succession, theoretically not going over the given damage cap. And that goes the same thing with the speed hacks. Before, it allowed you to go incredibly fast, but now the speed hacks stay within a certain limits where it doesn't get detected, not going too far above the given dinosaur's speed, but still faster than the majority. This is problematic because despite the new anti-cheat working, hackers just found a ways to play around it. And this is what I mean when I say the devs are not doing enough and not that they are not doing anything. What do I mean by this? There are essentially 3 ways to fix this issue from my understanding of what the developers are capable of. So these are purely my opinion that I concluded based on my analysis of the game. The 3 options being hiring additional dedicated programmer who specializes in anti-cheat only, implementing more layers of protections as they have been doing now, or hiring more admins for manual management. From my understanding and knowledge, these are the only realistic ways to resolve the issue given the circumstances without it being genuinely out of the developer's capability. Hiring a dedicated programmer is the obvious answer, a person who will be handling this and has a hands-on experience. And yes, developers already have people involved in anti-cheat, but from what I'm aware, this is not their main primary task. It's their secondary responsibility. Meaning the anti-cheat doesn't get enough attention, or the developers simply do not have enough time to resolve it. But by introducing someone specifically selected for it, we could potentially start seeing continuous, always up-to-date anti-cheat, while also allowing other developers to focus on developing the game, so we get new things much faster while also having fewer hackers. Second is the implementing more layers of protection. And as already mentioned, hacks are being resolved, but not enough. This is connected to the first point. If they simply do not want a separate programmer to introduce a new anti-cheat measures, they just need to start adding more layers themselves. And yes, I know this goes slightly bit against what I said earlier about them being overworked and anti-cheat being secondary. Because if they aren't willing to introduce someone else to handle it, they will have to simply switch their responsibilities and focus on the layers of protection. Because what's the point of making new stuff for a game when it's essentially almost unplayable? Now, the best and simple option. An option that developers can start implementing right now without any excuses. The same way how many amazing unofficial servers do it and have almost no hackers with immediate responses. And that is simply adding more moderators to manually ban those hackers. It sounds very simple, right? Because it is. They can simply hire more people with either money or add more volunteers, because from what I heard from individuals who did moderate the official servers, they weren't even getting paid. And this is the biggest issue that I have with the developers, the point that makes me so upset, their unwillingness to add new moderators. As mentioned, moderators don't get paid. They are individuals just like you and me who do it for free during their free time. Explaining the lack of action taken despite us pinging them and hackers literally running around for weeks. And to be clear, I do not have issue with any individual moderators because they have their own lives and they just simply cannot sit in front of computer all day. But my issue is with the developers now. Because I was thinking, if anyone can be a mod, right? Why aren't there more moderators in this game? And the answer is very simple. Because it's almost impossible to become one in the first place. Unless you don't have a life. In order to become the server moderator, there are certain requirements that you need to meet, and one of them is being a Discord moderator for 3 months actively. Meaning that if you want to become one, you have to work for 3 months before you even become one. And that is not even mentioning the other requirements along the fact that you're not even guaranteed to become a moderator after you put all the hard work. This is in my opinion a little bit too much because it strongly discourages any individual that were considering even becoming a mod. And before even someone says it, of course, we don't want to make anyone a moderator so people don't abuse the admin powers. But there are very simple ways to handle it, the same way how many of the unofficial server have done it, and the same way that many of us have done it or will have to do it in our future. That is a job application. Maybe it's something that Dondi isn't familiar with, but if they have implemented such a method, followed by a simple NDA or a contract that would prevent them from abusing it, they could get more admins in no time. The same way how many unofficial servers are already doing it with no issue, as I already mentioned. And now, some of you may point out, isn't that a lot of additional work for the developers? Well, I'm quite of an entrepreneur myself with a lot of successful projects under my belt. And my professional experience has one very simple answer to that. Hiring someone that would act like a headhunter. For those that are not familiar with the term and imagining a predator from Alien, headhunter is essentially an individual, in this case someone who will be looking for the admins, while also determining who becomes an admin and manages them at the same time. By hiring someone like this, it will allow developers to work on their game while other individuals cover the non-developer areas. To be honest, I'm already very surprised that they do not have more staff beyond the game developers, such as their lack of marketing department if there is any, as the only thing that I would even consider remotely being a marketing side was their video that has been posted a year ago. No wonder we are not getting a lot of new players, because their official YouTube channel doesn't even pop out when you type their name. In conclusion, the hacker issue is becoming really serious now. The devs are indeed doing something to combat it, but this just isn't enough, as individual hackers are now beating the developers to the point that they cannot even keep up. From my perspective, all of this can be fixed by hiring more people or making the moderator requirements easier. Because from my understanding with the business degrees I possess and the experience across the number of companies I have, they definitely seem to have the financial capabilities to hire at least 2 or 3 new employees. And let's say I'm wrong and they do not have the financial capabilities. But in this case, then I'm certain that they still have the capability to expand their income to do so, but they just simply won't. Because for example, if I can do it here on YouTube as well as many others, they can as well. But that's everything I wanted to talk about the hacker issues. And if you guys managed to stick to the very end, thank you so much for watching and see you guys next time. Bye!